0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
03456060 Greg has presumably been on a plane quite recently. You're in Thailand, Greg. Hello.
Yes, hi Darren.
Hi.
How are you?
You too, sir. Good to hear from you. What's your situation, Greg?
Right. Well, I've been earlier in the year. It's been quite a harrowing year for everyone, but we had some horrific family tragedy, and ever since then, so this would have been in March. Ever since then, I've been wanting nothing more than to see my daughter, who lives in Thailand, in Phuket. Mm-hmm. And Thailand was completely closed. I finally, managed to get all the relevant paperwork done and fly out here at the end of October, and had to do a 2-week quarantine in a hotel in Bangkok, which I had to pay for. Wasn't particularly pleasant, but I was happy to do it because it was what was needed to be done.
Yes.
I've now, since what's been going on in the UK, I've delayed my return journey, but I understand that I may need to do the same thing on my return, and I'd be happy to do that.
Yes.
I obviously, I live in a single occupancy flat. If there was a way to do it with an electronic tag, I'd choose that option. But I understand it has to be a hotel. It has to be a hotel.
So you've been there now for 4 months. You've been there since October, and obviously you went out at a time when such a thing was possible, even in the context of those restrictions upon entering Thailand.
Sure.
What's the situation in Thailand? How is that country coping with COVID? Does it feel relatively safe where you are? What's your sort of day-to-day position?
Very safe. Yeah, I mean they basically closed their borders completely, I think, in March last year, and were only allowing repatriation flights until about the time I came, and I could only come in because I had a child here, so I had to come in on a parent visa. There's no tourism allowed. Mm-hmm. Which was fine. I understood that it was difficult, but it was fine.
Yes.
When I return, I'm actually not in the red zone, so I won't need to do this 2-week hotel quarantine. However, I think the government has really missed something quite important. Mm-hmm. Which is that most people who travel, including me, I'm going on Qatar Airways via Doha. Mm-hmm. Most people who travel do not fly directly. No. So irrespective of where they first came from, they are getting on a second plane with people from all over the world.
Yes. Can you even get a direct flight from Bangkok to London? I'm not sure you can.
I believe you can with Thai Airways only, but yeah.
Okay. So you will. So Thailand's not on the red list. You're a British citizen, so you can come back in. You won't need to go to the hotel, but of course you will have to isolate at home for 10 days.
Yes.
And you'll need, which you're happy to do, and you'll need to get the negative COVID test in Thailand.
Yeah, I've had so many of these. I needed.
Right.
I had one in April for. There's another reason, but then I had, that was an NHS one. Then I had to have one done privately in order to get permission to come to Thailand, and then there were 3 more that were done during my quarantine at the hotel in Bangkok. So I've had so many by now anyway that it doesn't really bother me.
Well, let me ask you this then. Maybe you've partly answered it, Greg, but we're talking about, whether or not there might be a desire to go further here and introduce a blanket so-called ban or blanket quarantine so that everyone coming back into the UK or coming into the UK has to go to an airport hotel to quarantine for 2 weeks. That wouldn't be the case for you because Thailand's not on the red list. Even if it meant that's what you had to do, would you welcome the restrictions being tightened to that extent and in that way?
Yeah, I think so. If the manpower and the technology existed to, get, for people who live on their own to be monitored, then that would be preferable. But the hotel thing, it just has to be done. My main point was that people do not tend to take direct flights.
Yes,
so
yes.
the whole red zone thing is kind of irrelevant.
Well, we spoke to a travel agent last night who made precisely that point, that there are probably, I don't know, if you were to sort of draw a map of all the flights that take place in the world into London Heathrow or indeed any of the UK airports, a significant number would not be direct. They would come from other places. And that, I think, Greg, means that there's another benefit of a blanket set of restrictions, which is simplicity, apart from anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm making a rod for my own back by saying it, but I think that's true.
Yeah. All right, we'll tell you what, we'll once the rules change, we'll contact you in your quarantine hotel when you return to the UK, and you can tell us how you're getting on. Greg, thank you for that in Phuket in Thailand. 034